Thank you for joining us for today's Pathos webinar, Red Team Assessment, Setting Up Phishing Campaign. Before we get started, let me take a few minutes to introduce Pathos. Pathos research-powered cybersecurity consulting firm. We have a decade-long track record with a singular focus on cybersecurity. Pathos impact is delivered every day through our three verticals. Number one, community and conferences. Pathos runs hardware.io, a hardware security focused conference along with other initiatives. Number two, consulting and trainings. We primarily focus on offensive security assessments. Number three, products. Palo has also released two products in a private beta trials. Exploity, a firmware analysis framework, and CloudBurst, an advanced fuzzing framework. This slide is an overview of various consulting assessments we execute for our customer across the globe. We have delivered talks and workshops worldwide in some of the top security conferences like Black Hat and DEF CON. This has been our decade-long impact to contribute to a robust cybersecurity community in India and globally. Without further ado, let's get started with our webinar. Today we have two speakers, Rishikesh and Samaksh. Rishikesh is a Red Team security researcher and Samaksh is a security consultant at Palo. You can read about their wonderful accomplishments on the next two slides. Yeah. So before I hand over to Rishikesh and Samaksh, a few housekeeping tips. Please be on mute. If you have a question, you can write it in the chat box. We will answer the questions during a few intervals or towards the end of the webinar. A recording will be released later via our LinkedIn page. So please make sure you are following Palo on LinkedIn. Rishikesh, over to you.
Hey, thank you. Welcome to all for this webinar. This one is actually a very interesting one, and it's an inspired webinar from one of our Red Team assessments that we performed recently. So yeah, Rashik has already introduced us, so we'll just begin with a few slides, and then we'll be looking into our demo today. We'll be seeing live how phishing campaigns are performed by adversaries, even while doing red team engagements as well. So yeah, let's start with it. Samaksh, can you please just go to the next slide?
Sure.
So this is our agenda today. We'll be understanding what phishing is. We'll quickly understand how the infrastructure is set up. We'll be using two main tools, which is GoFish and EvilJinx. We'll be understanding more in depth about what GoFish and EvilJinx are. Later on, we'll understand more about EvilJinx and how it works, even how to install these tools, and then ultimately we'll be looking for a demo where we will be trying to compromise some of the accounts of well-known providers like Microsoft Office 365. We'll also try to bypass their MFA. We'll try with the LinkedIn and one of the social media account, that is Instagram. So but just a quick note, since this is a live demo, it might happen that sometimes things might just at the time of runtime, things might just get a bit fidgy. So just bear with us. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, Samaksh, can we go to the next slide? So this is just a brief introduction about ourselves. So yeah, just a few notes. So this webinar will not make you a red team ninja, as I've always been saying in these webinars. It will definitely help you gain insights about how these attacks are performed. And again, this is not just a webinar. It will be great if we actually have a discussion and get more out of this webinar. And yes, this is just for educational purposes. So yeah, moving forward. So before starting with the phishing attacks, I'd like to understand how many of you are actually from a red team background, or how many of you are actually from a consulting background, or are you from management, or are you here as a student, or someone who wants to understand what a red team is, how these phishing campaigns are performed, and for your own organization you're looking for something like this. So it would be great for us to get some background, and the context set, so that we could move our webinar accordingly. So you could either mention it in your chat, or you could unmute yourself and please let us know. Anyone, guys? It's always better to get some context and some background. Okay, we've got consulting background. Okay, we've got a red team research intern. That's great. Okay, we've got security engineers, someone from consulting background as well, and some students as well. So yeah, great to know. Amazing. I can see that many of you are from consulting background, so probably some of the terminologies would be much more clear to you. But if in case if someone is not understand any terminologies that we are using, please feel free to unmute yourself or ask in the chat. No worries. So yes, let's begin. So can anyone tell me, or can you describe what exactly phishing is in your own terms? So for this, I think it would be best if you could unmute yourself and we could have some discussion. It would be great if I could get some insights from you. So can you guys tell me what, according to you, is a phishing attack, or what exactly is phishing? What would you call a phishing? So let yes.
Hi, Rusikesh.
Yes, Asya.
Yeah, so basically, phishing is something that we can. I'll give an example. Like, suppose I am impersonating a person. Like, I'll be assuming that I'm his friend, and I'll do like basically phishing can be a lot of things. Like we have phishing, then vishing, right inside it.
Sure. There
So
could be many terminologies for it.
yeah, inside
Right.
phishing itself. So phishing can be like impersonating someone and assuming that I'm someone else, and the victim gets assumes like, okay, this person is genuine person. Or we can say as phishing basically is like through emails. I can say that phishing majority most of the time goes with the mails, right?
Right. So,
We
how would you guys describe phishing and, let's say, social engineering? So, what does social engineering exactly mean? So, as you can see in the slide, we have used a terminology called social engineering. So, what exactly would a social engineering attack or an activity mean to you?
I mean, the Abdul here, this would be like, just to put right perspective, like the person is sending an email as if it is a legitimate person that is sending.
Right.
So
Sure.
you will not know the person who is to whom the mail is coming will not even know that it's coming from a unknown source, and it's a phishing kind of attack that is being planned.
Absolutely, that could be a phishing attack. But let's talk about social engineering as an entire like an umbrella. So what all things you can think about when we talk about social engineering attack? So let's say you have put on a hacker's hat, or let's say red teamers, and now you have to think about performing a social engineering attack. So what are the ways that you could come up with?
So we could just analyze the target or victim, whatever. So suppose he's playing on Facebook on Candy Crush. So maybe we could make a malicious content for Candy Crush and send him a link, in which way he will open the link or open the mail, whatever it is, and he could give us the information, or we could hack into his computer, whatever is required from that attack.
Right, exactly. So, social engineering attack wouldn't just contain yourself to just let's say an email or a phone call, but it's more than that. You could just approach a person, ask few details, maybe he'll help you out with something. You could just maybe send them messages on some other social platforms wherein they might feel more trusted, and they might even click on those links. So that's how generally social engineering attacks go. Today we are especially going to talk about phishing attacks. Why phishing attacks is because when we look from a red team engagement perspective, uh, apart from other apart from other social engineering attacks, mainly you can perform phishing attack. That's mainly allowed. You might not be given a permission to send them messages through some social media, or even try to contact them or meet them in person. So sometimes these are the scopes of red team engagement. So right now we are just containing ourselves to phishing through emails. So yeah, so we got a basic idea about what phishing is. So let's move on. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right, great. So let's look at a phishing infrastructure. So this is how an ideal infrastructure would look like. This is an image I have taken from ired.team. It's a great website to learn about red team engagements. So yeah, as you can see here from top, there's an operator which would be a red teamer. He'll be setting up a few servers, which is like a phishing server. Here we are going to look at GoFish. Then there's a payload server where actually the user will be redirected to after the phishing email is sent. And then there is a C2 server, which is right now not in our scope of discussion. So let's just focus on phishing server and a payload server. They are further connected to an SMTP relay. So what here SMTP relay is exactly is basically so for sending a mail, you need a mail server, right? So what you could do is either set up your own mail servers, or you could use, let's say if you're using some cloud like AWS, you could go with AWS SES for mail servers. So this is an ideal architecture where you could set up your own mail server using SMTP relay. So this is more recommended, because what could happen is, let's say your mail got caught by the organization and it's flagged. So the mail server can easily be burned here and be replaced with a new mail server with a new with a new IP address and a new domain and everything. So it's easy to change. And below payload server, we can see there's a payload redirector. So what exactly happens is, let's say we send mail to a victim. The victim, the mail is sent through a mail SMTP mail server, and then the victim clicks on the malicious link that is being provided in the email. Victim is then sent to the payload redirector that you can see here. So the link of the payload redirector is provided in the email and not the payload server. So even if again, if the mail gets caught by the organizations, any of the tools, uh, basically this can be just replaced with a different redirector. So SMTP relay and payload redirectors could easily be burned and be changed again with the new servers, and the phishing server and the payload server can still remain intact. They that won't be harmed. So this is how an ideal architecture would look like. So yeah, moving ahead. So this is the infrastructure that we will be using today. We'll be using GoFish to send emails and to monitor them. Later, we will be using Amazon SES mail server to send mails, and then EvilJinx to host the MITM server. So yeah, so far, does anybody have any questions? Guys, feel free to discuss. You can just unmute yourself and feel free to ask any questions if you have. Okay, then we'll just understand quickly what GoFish is. So it's an open source phishing framework. When we look at the demo, we'll get a clearer idea of what it exactly does. It'll give you real-time results. So whenever a user clicks whenever a user opens up mail, or whenever the user clicks on the malicious link, we'll be getting that update on our dashboard. So yeah, you can view a timeline for each recipient, track email, link clicks and submit credentials and everything. So this has features to create user groups. You can schedule your emails between a date. So you can create a range of date within which it will be sending the emails appropriately. After that, you can create mail templates, sending profiles. Sending profiles is something like if you have multiple mail servers, you can just configure that accordingly. So yeah, this is what GoFish is. So next would be about Evil Jinx. About Evil Jinx, Samaksh will explain what it exactly is.
Thank you so much, Rishikesh. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining this webinar. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So, what is Evil Jinx? Evil Jinx is a man-in-the-middle attack framework which we use for capturing the login credentials along with the session tokens. So instead of actually serving the HTML page to our victim user, what in general we do is we use Evil Jinx, which act as a relay. So any traffic which goes from the victim's browser to the legitimate website, it will relay through the Evil Jinx or the attacker controlled server. So it has, currently there are two releases so far. So the first release was in 2017, which uses the Nginx HTTP server. And in the 2018, they released the entire EvilJinx 2, which is one of the best till now. It is built using Go language and has its own custom written HTTP and the DNS server that makes it more efficient, much easier to use and install. So let's understand how Evil Jinx work. And in order to understand, let's take a step back and understand how we used to create the phishing pages in our earlier days. So most of the people working in cybersecurity may at one point of time created the phishing page of the websites like facebook.com, gmail.com. So I am not very, I don't have expertise in the CSS designing, and I used to have very hard time in creating those phishing pages because we have to create approximately, like we have to create the entire replica of facebook.com, which requires a lot of editing in the CSS. So for a person or for a non-technical person who do not have much expertise in CSS design might find it a little hard to create those phishing pages. But what Evil Jinx does is, Evil Jinx over here removes all those hustle. It just goes one step further, and instead of serving the HTML look-alike pages, what it does, it just act as a proxy server. So when I say what a proxy server is, anyone knows what a proxy server?
Hi, Vidya here. So proxy server is nothing but like when we use to intercept with the browser and the server.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so correct. So proxy server is a server where we route all our system traffic, all our browser traffic to one particular server. Okay, so that is called as a proxy server, and Evil Jinx exactly does the same way. What exactly it does is that instead of actually creating those phishing pages like those HTML look-like pages, it just sits between the victim's browser and the legitimate website. And whenever any request comes from the victim's browser, it first goes to the Evil Jinx server, which is an attacker control server. The Evil Jinx will capture all the necessary information. It will capture all the username, password, or any other important information. In case if it needs to modify a packet, it will modify the packet and it will forward the request back to the legitimate website. And the same thing happens when the response comes from the legitimate website. It first reaches Evil Jinx. The Evil Jinx again will capture any important information that it has to, and then forwards the request back to the victim. So, the very interesting thing to note over here is that the victim cannot distinguish whether it is actually interacting with the legitimate website or it is interacting with the attacker controlled server.
although cannot guarantee where this will go right now. It might go in your junk or spam as well. So yeah, but we can see over here in the campaign, good that you guys volunteered. We can get more data. We can see how many of you have clicked or opened the emails. So yeah, I'm about to launch the campaign. Yeah, done. Now this is the dashboard that you will see. So what happens for Gmail is sometimes Google itself opens the email to understand what the content is. So sometimes you can just see opened once, but once this user opens it again, we can see a new update over here again. We can see that one of the other users have opened as well. Let me open mine. Let me just so yeah, I've got an email over here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'll just do this in incognito to make sure that everything. So this is how the email is looking like, right? Now to a naked eye, what you can see is login.microsoftonline.com, which is not fishy, right? It's perfectly fine. So I just click on it. What I could do is, so this is how the email will look like. This is the landing page that we defined in. Can you guys see this clearly? So this is the landing page that we defined, and this is the code. This is the tracker code that you are looking at.
Can you increase the font if it's possible?
Actually, it's an address bar. I'm not sure if uska font badega kya. What I'll do is I'll copy it in a terminal here. Yeah. So this is how it looks like. So RID is the value that GoFish captures, and it knows which user has actually clicked on the link. Now what I'll do is I'll click enter. Now if you look at the URLs, right now it's redirector dot this primedecor.co.in. Now you've been automatically redirected to login.primedecor.co.in, right? So this is how a redirector worked. And now if you look at the dashboard, you can see that I have opened the link. There's someone else who has actually clicked on the link. Sorry, I have opened the email. And there's someone who has actually clicked on the link. And so have I. It actually takes time to refresh sometimes, but you get the data pretty much accurately. Now, let's say I am a victim. I am entering my credentials, which is this is obviously a dummy account. Okay. I can either do yes or no, doesn't matter actually. So yeah, I am actually logged in. If I click on Office, yeah, so you can see I'm actually logged in, but the domain is still a phishing domain or a malicious one. It's not the Office Microsoft's domain. So we are still in the Evil Jinx servers MITM attack. Now let's look at the console of the Evil Jinx. Yeah, you can see here I've got username and password both of the user. Now what I'll do is click on sessions. This is the session that I need to capture. Now these are the cookies that I need. I've copied the cookies. I'll open a different browser altogether to make sure that no session is okay. So all I have to do is login.microsoftonline.com. This is where I have to come. Now, as you can see, I'm not logged in into anything. I'll use a cookie editor. I'll import the cookies that I have and just hope that it works actually. This is the nightmare of doing something real time. Yep, you can see that I'm logged in with the victim's account. So yes, this is how it works, guys. Any questions so far? About Evil Jinx, I think Samaksh will explain you more about what Evil Jinx, how we have set up Evil Jinx in the demo. So this webinar might get extended to 15-20 minutes more. Are you guys okay with it?
Sure.
All right, cool. I was hoping some of you might actually enter credentials over there and I might get your session as well. So I could have shown that as well, but nonetheless, yeah. About the variables that you were asking, right, Ashwin? So this is how the variables are defined in documentation. So this is the URL, which is the phishing URL. This is how a tracker is defined.
Sam, can you send us in chat?
The link?
Yes, yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so these are Golang variables that they're using over here.
Not Golang, but for the GoFish. So these are the variables that you can use.
GoFish is developed in Golang, right?
Yes, yes, but these variables are for GoFish. I mean,
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Jinja template, right?
So in the email template, these are the domains. Oh, sorry, these are the variables.
Yeah.
Samaksh?
Rishikesh.
Yes, Ashwin.
I tried sending to tech support.
Okay.
And it gave me undelivered mail returned to the sender.
Okay, so it bounced back.
It bounced back.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. So now actually I can, so yeah, where's the Firefox? Here I can actually use everything of the victim, including the mailbox. So where is Outlook? Yeah. Yep. Now I can actually go to victim's email inbox. I can see the mail that I have sent as an attacker and I can even delete it. So, yep. Samaksh, are you there?
I'm here, Rishikesh.
Yeah, I think I might have to give you access for co-host, so that you can continue with the Evil Jinx. Yes, there you go.
All right, guys, let's see what exactly happened in the background that Rishikesh was able to access the mail server, without which he might not have initially have the access. Okay, all right. Is this visible now?
Yep.
Okay, so before proceeding further, there are some prerequisites. So you have installed Evil Jinx on your machine. Okay, you have set up the Evil Jinx on your machine now. You need to have a domain name. So there are two things that you need to have. The first one is a VPS, virtual private server, where you virtual private server with a public IP, where you will be hosting your Evil Jinx server, and you need to have a domain name.
So we won't be covering how we can purchase the domain name and how we can make the change in the DNS entry, but you need to point your domain name to the VPS on which you are hosting EvilJinx. So we have already purchased the domain primedecor.co.in, and we have already set up this VPS with the public IP. So currently everything is done. Now let's go with how we can go and set up this EvilJinx. So I installed it. So this is what I'm running with the binary. You can simply install it using the Go language or globally on your system and use the EvilJinx as a command to run or access it from anywhere. Okay, so the error which you just received, that we actually, prior to this webinar, we already started this EvilJinx server, which the Rishikesh showed you, right? So that was the result of which we set up earlier. But right now I'll be showing how to set up from the very fresh, from the very beginning. So in case you just see this error, failed to start the name server on port 53, you do not need to worry, it's completely fine. We can work with this too. Or in case you still want to resolve it, you have to make some changes in your resolve.conf file to an IP address, and you're good to go. All right, so let's say, so currently if I use fishlets, which is the command to show all the available fishlets which are there in the EvilJinx, these are the default fishlets. Okay, you can create your own custom fishlets and you can save it in your directory. There is a directory called fishlets. So you see these are the defined fishlets. This is the directory from where the EvilJinx pull up all the fishlets and show it on the panel. So if you want to create another fishlet, you can create and paste over here. Similarly, if the fishlet which I showed you is this one, which I showed you on the in the presentation, this was the fishlet. All right, so now let's go back and start fishlets. So currently I have one fishlets enabled, which is O365, which Rishikesh showed you. Let me disable it first. Okay, it's not disabled. So yeah. Config is the command that shows the general configuration of the. Hello, is one.
Sorry, that.
Can anyone please mute himself, Abdul?
Yeah. Yeah, tell me. That's right.
Abdul,
you're saying something?
Unmute. Sorry, mute yourself.
Okay.
Surendra, can you do it?
Okay, I've muted him. So config is the command that we use to see the general configuration of the EvilJinx server. Let's say that we do not have any predefined configuration. How we do that? We do with the config domain primedecor.co.in. This is the domain that we purchased, right? This is the domain that Rishikesh purchased, and we will be using this for the phishing pages. But in order to make it a very legit, so in case, let's say you sent this phishing URL to Rishikesh, and Rishikesh being a little more cyber security, have the cyber security awareness, he see that Primedecor cannot host all the content from the LinkedIn or Office 365 or Microsoft.com. So he'll simply say, this is a phishing page. Okay, let's not enter credentials. In order to make this page or the domain look more legit, what you can do is you can purchase a domain called, let's say, linkedin.com, which has double I, or facebook.com, or you can just, instead of one I, you can say one. So just to make sure, it looks like more legit to the domain we are targeting. So we have configured the domain. Now we need to configure the IP. So this is the IP which I'll be using. This is the IP of my VPS server on which I have hosted EvilJinx. Once done, I'll go on the fishlets list lake. So let's say, I'll be showing you the fishlet of linkedin.com. So what is the fishlet? What is the command? I'll be using fishlets host name, which is LinkedIn, and which is the website, https primedecor.co.in. Fishlet is a command. Hostname is this LinkedIn hostname. Okay, so I'm hosting this LinkedIn website on this primedecor.co.in. Once done,
Yeah, just remove the HTTPS part.
okay. All right, now we need to enable this fishlet. So you see over here, the LinkedIn domain, it has been already activated. It's still not activated, but it is staying synced with this primedecor.co.in. Once I enable this fishlet, okay, so there will be a couple of things which will happen in the background. The very first thing it will do is, so currently primedecor.co.in, this website, it does not have any predefined certificates. Okay, so the very first thing it will do is it will first install the certificate, HTTPS TLS certificate for this primedecor, so that once it establishes a connection with the Rushikesh. So one of the most basic thing that whenever you open a website, that the general thing you see that in case there is HTTPS, then you see that, okay, now I'm secured. And in case there is no HTTPS, you feel like, oh, I'm still not secure. Okay, so just to remove that, just to make the user more comfortable in entering the credentials, we are just making sure that we do have that lock sign, that green lock sign on the left-hand side of the browser. So you see, it has already successfully set up this TLS certificate for the domain. Now, what we need to do is, I'll be using lures. So lures are the URL that we will be sending to the victim. Okay, in case over here in this example, Rushikesh is our victim. So currently we do not have any lure. This is the O365. It's the one which we started prior to the webinar. Let me create the new using the command lure create LinkedIn. So you can see the lure has been created. Now I need to enter the redirect URL. I'll be editing. I'll be specifying the ID, which is 1 for LinkedIn. I'll be entering redirect URL, which is https LinkedIn.
Samaksh, let's go with .LinkedIn.
Okay, all right. Now let's say layers get URL of 1, and let's try to open this. You see, this is a primedecor, but we are serving the content of linkedin.com. Okay, now let's see. All right, so this is a second factor authentication which we set up just for this webinar. Now, Rushikesh, can you give me this? So the point over here is, even though the application, it is, we have implemented two-factor authentication, we can still bypass it. So currently I do not have the, OTP. So let's say that Rushikesh was visiting with this website, he entered his credential. Now it asks for his two-factor authentication. Rushikesh, can you give me that?
So let's do one thing here. I'll just I'll log in here on the link. Just share with me the URL that you created, or just put it in the config redirect. You can do either of it. So I'll log in from here, and you'll get the session.
So currently I've given this URL to the chat. You can go and anyone can, just simply open the link and try to log in. I have shared in the chat. Anyone can open the link, and I'll be sharing my screen. You'll be able to.
Yeah. So actually, ideally, there is another way where this you can actually eliminate this the end thing. So now I'll be authenticating using, and so this is a two-factor authenticator that we have implemented. I'll be entering that. 1, 2, 6, 4. Yeah.
Guys, in the meantime, in any of you, you can just enter any credentials. I'm not asking you to enter the legit credentials. Just open the URL on your browser,
Right.
enter the credentials so that, I'll be able to show you on the sessions which we have recorded.
I have actually logged in. The email is still a phishing email or a malicious domain. Sorry, it's a malicious domain, and I have still logged in. I think, yeah, Samaksh, you can take the screen and then continue.
All right. So let me share the screen. Okay. Is my screen visible? Okay. testfordictionary@gmail.com. So session is the command which we can use to, see all the captured credentials. So these are the captured credentials so far. All right. Let's say that, let me show you the.
Let's take 22, I guess, no? Or yeah, 22, I think was mine.
So if we specify the session and the ID, so over here, the ID is 22 of a user. So you see that, other than the username and password, we have captured the token as well, along with the IP addresses and the time they have logged in their app, in the social platform. So let me use session 22. So over here, I have got this is the authenticated post authentication cookie. Let me copy it and show to you. So this is LinkedIn. Pasting it, done. You see, logged in. Now we have the control of the user session. We can do whatever we want to, and user won't be, notified. And any questions? Anything?
So we had a demo of Instagram as well. So like if you guys are okay with the extended time, we could show that too. Just let us know in the chat.
Similarly, we can create with any, any application. You can simply, so any application which is hosted on the internet, you can create a fishlet for that, hosted on the EvilJinx, and the EvilJinx will be able to capture each and every information, whatever you specify in the fishlet. You can capture credentials, you can capture the post authentication cookies. This is similarly, so we have the, some default fishlets are available in the EvilJinx server, but even if you have a custom application, let's say that you as an application developer, you created your entire application using some framework from Django or some other framework, you can create a fishlet for that too and host it on EvilJinx server, and you will be able to capture every information without any difficulty. Does it make sense?
Right now, the only mitigation to this is user awareness, and the second is using the hardware-based authentication using YubiKey. Although, yeah, it's expensive, but for two-factor, that is the only way. Universal two-factor authentication using YubiKey.
There is other solution that can be implemented at the application level. Let's say that, the application does not allow multiple login for a user. For example, so Rushikesh is already logged into the application and I somehow managed to steal the post authentication cookies, and I use the same procedure to log in into the, to Rushikesh account. So Rushikesh will see a alert that, there are multiple sessions and one of the session will be terminated. So Rushikesh can see that, you know, someone already logged in with his session. So if our website has, you know, multiple the session control on their applications, then this is also another method through which we will be able to control the multiple logins. But of course, yes, if the attacker continues that, you know, remove the disconnect the other session and he can log in with the session. Initially, the session control, it won't prevent the evil jinx to steal the cookies, but we can implement other things, as the Rishikesh said, UTF, which is universal two-factor authentication. Those are the hardware-based keys. So how those keys work, that it's not that you will be able to enter those directly into the any website. Those are bind to the particular website. For example, if I have registered my UTF device with the Facebook, and if I plug in my UTF device, that UTF device will give me a signature that will only be valid for facebook.com. Okay, it won't be valid for any other domains. So thus it would prevent this evil jing phishing.
Yeah, so none of the MITM attacks would work. Neither this evil jinx nor the alternative to this either. So yes, guys, I think that's it, what we had so far. So if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions on, whenever you send an email during the campaign, right, we should also make sure that, it should look genuine, right? And it should not enter the junk or any spam folder, right?
Sure.
So what are the ways that, we should do to ensure that it actually hits the inbox?
Okay. So do check out Spam Assassin scores. So it will give you all the parameters that are required. Few that are on top of my head are right now that the domain that you will be using for phishing emails, that should be at least 14 days old. So what it does is it actually brings down your spam score down. So that is one thing. The content of your email should be more, like it should be, I think, more than 200 words, or sorry, 200 words, I guess. Yeah. So, and there should not be any trigger words. Mostly this will help. Apart from that, if you are trying to perform the phishing campaigns on someone with a G Suite, I have personally seen that it's better to send emails through G Suite itself rather than using any of the SES servers. I think SES ke sare servers, they are flagged when the mails go to G Suite. So that's what I have observed so far.
So you're telling if employees are using G Suite, then it's better to trigger the phishing campaigns email from the G Suite only, right?
Yes.
See, Pradeep, it depends. You know, there are many factors involved. Whenever you are sending a campaign and you want to make sure that it doesn't land in the spam or junk box, you need to make sure. So there are a couple of things, as Rishikesh said. See, the content is very important. You don't want to, so currently all the mail providers, mail server, they are using artificial intelligence and machine learning to filter out all the spam or, junk mails. And that's how they classify whether the incoming mail will land in the spam box. So you need to make sure that whatever content you are creating or whatever the structure of your content, it has to look really legit. Don't include the content from any other email which has already been marked as phished. For example, I have seen most of the people, what they do is they generally copy the content from some online available content which is already marked as phishing content. The other content is, just make sure, let's say that you are trying to phish a particular user, you're trying to phish a particular company, make sure that domain is not recently registered. So 14 days is a general time, but make sure you have the aging of the domain you purchased is around 30 days or more, just to other than that, just try to host some website, some business website, to make sure that the website is hosting some content. So there are a couple of things, that the kind of words you chooses, the links you add, or any special HTML tags that you are including in the mail. Those are the things that you need to carefully look for when creating the campaign or when sending out a phishing email to the other person.
Yeah, thanks. And one more thing is, let's say if your company has like 500 members, they'll be having their WhatsApp groups, Slack groups and all, right? So let's say there is a smart guy who identifies this phishing thing and he just posts it in that group, right? We want this campaign to be successful, right? So what are the ways, or you guys have actually encountered, I guess, right? There should be some specific time interval, right, where you actually launch this campaign. So is there any experience you want to share, what time or when it would be good to launch these kind of campaigns, so that it will not come into any employee's radar?
So this thing, so there is no perfect time. Okay, if the employees are very, very well aware, so there is no perfect time. Anytime you send the email, they will be able to easily distinguish whether a particular email is a spam or not, or is a phishing email or not. But yes, you can try some time. So see, let's say that, so this all information, this all thing comes in the reconnaissance part, whether before actually launching a phishing campaign is what I will do is I will capture as much information as we can. For example, let's say that you are trying to phish a company, which is an MNC company, and and you know that, so there are people who are from different geographical location. One is in Canada, the another one is the India. So I will take those things also into the, I will take those things also into the consideration before launching a campaign, that I won't be sending this phishing email to the Indian at the time zone of US or at the time zone of the Canada. Or there are other things that you can say. Make sure, what people generally do is on Monday morning. Okay, let's say so for example, let's say I'm targeting someone who is an Indian. So I'll try to send them email either on Monday morning, or I'll send the mail on Friday. So people, what they generally do is, the psychology is that they will try to finish all their works before heading for the weekend, or once they arrive after the weekend, they'll try to open any emails which might have triggered, or something happened in the infrastructure. So these are the things that you can take into the consideration.
And adding to that, it depends on how you define the successful phishing campaign. So if you're performing phishing campaign just for the sake of compromising an account, I think compromising one account and compromising 500 accounts is still the same thing, because it depends on what your next target is. So you don't have to send phishing emails to all 500 people. You can just send to 10 people, and there's a high probability that none of them are actually in social contact or in touch with each other. So even if the smart person who find out that this is a phishing attack, even if he tells to their group, still it won't matter to them, because they did not receive any of the phishing emails. So yeah, that's what I have seen.
You can also you can also create the small campaigns, like you can send the emails in the small batches, right? Like instead of just sending direct email to the first 30 users, or just create a small batch of the users who you can target for the phishing. Just then calculate the success of how many people have actually opened the mail, and then try to target a larger audience, and that's how you'll be able to successfully launch a phishing campaign.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other question, guys, regarding anything? And one of you guys asked about whether EvilJinx can be hosted on the Windows. I just checked it. Yes, we can. There are some releases which the author has released specifically for the Windows platform, on the same GitHub pages, on his same GitHub page, just under the different name. You can go and check those out too. Any other questions, guys, you have for us regarding EvilJinx, phishing, or any other relating to the phishing?
Looks like we are done then.
Is it like similar to Beef framework as well?
Not really. I think Beef hooks onto the
yeah, but
browsers,
like
right?
I can see that even we can control the servers for EvilJinx using Beef. Not sure.
No, not really. EvilJinx is just an MITM tool which sits between the victim and the genuine websites. and it captures what we ask it to capture, and then lets other things go or pass by. Okay. Another pro tip is to make sure the server that you're hosting for EvilJinx is in the same geographical location as that of most of the victims, so that the victims won't get an alert saying that you were you logged in from a different location. So if the victims are from India and you create a AWS instance on, let's say, US, then there might be an email sent to the victim saying that we noticed that you recently tried to log in into our accounts from this and this location. So it's just a alert that will go to the user, but just a tip. Yeah.
And one more thing is we can configure EvilJinx not to capture any credentials, right? Just
Sure. That credential section that we saw was specifically for this only. Yeah.
You can include multiple things. You can include multiple things, or let's say you don't want to include anything. You can just edit the YAML, that fishlet, and make it work accordingly.
Correct. So in that YAML, that password section is not at all. I mean, if you remove it, then it will not record. Is it?
See, if you do not want to capture that particular password, just simply add, any gibberish parameter name. It won't capture because it won't find that particular parameter in the request, right? Yep. That can also work. Yep. That can also work. So I'm sending one, link in the chat. So this is one of the best link I have found so far for, this EvilJinx setup and bypassing like this login and performing MITM. Just have a look at that. Kudos to the author. He really did awesome work. Just check it out. There is another thing. So this is for this second. If you want to have a look at this first one, I'll share that link too. So these are the two links. The second link is the EvilJinx, which was released in 2017. And the first link is the, is the latest version, EvilJinx 2, for which we presented today.
I think Samaksh, now I don't think there is any more question.
Thank you so much, guys, for the joining.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Rishikesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishikesh.